As humanity progressed, new sciences were developed. Ancient sciences such as astrology, medicine, and mathematics arose. However, the most fascinating of these ancient sciences was alchemy. Alchemy was similar to the modern science of chemistry, as alchemists studied how elements changed and interacted with one another. However, alchemy was heavily based on spiritualism and mythology, and its origins could be traced back as far as Alexander the Great's conquering of Egypt in 332 BC. Alchemy would soon branch out into the surrounding continents, being practiced in China, India, Greece, and in the Middle East. However, the most famous form of alchemy, Western alchemy, was not practiced until at least the 12th century. One of my first major roadblocks in the creation of my essay was the fact that alchemy is simply not present in Europe during the Anglo-Saxon era, and I struggled to make any connections between Anglo-Saxon literature and alchemy. However, through the online database JSTOR, I learned that alchemy was based on a religion known as Hermeticism. Hermetics worship the god of Hermes Trismegistus, a syncretic god or combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Although Trismegistus is a mythological figure, Hermeticists believe that he was the patron god of alchemy and astrology. I connected Hermeticism's mythology to some of the spiritual beliefs in paganism, and I further connected Hermeticism to the epic poem of Beowulf. As Beowulf combined elements of Christianity and paganism, which is a key component of Hermeticism. Hermeticists combined elements of Judaism, Christianity, and Greek and Egyptian mythology in their religion. Although alchemy was not present in the Anglo-Saxon era, I still believe it is important to study Anglo-Saxon literature, as alchemy's origins can be seen in both the spiritual beliefs of Hermeticism and paganism. Despite my research into Hermeticism, I still feel like my Anglo-Saxon section of my essay is my weakest section, as I didn't really answer the question why I study literature in terms of alchemy, as it simply wasn't present. I hope to learn how to better connect literature to the topic of my paper in an effective way in both the second semester and in the long term. In the medieval era, alchemy was introduced to Europe and rapidly gained popularity. Alchemy was similar to chemistry, as alchemists experimented with different metals such as mercury, tin, or silver. Alchemists believed that metals could be transfused or transformed into each other, and specifically attempted to convert metals into gold, and sought to create the philosopher's stone, or as they called it, elixir, which alchemists believed would grant them immortality and an infinite supply of gold. Research into alchemical literature is difficult, as most sources are completely unreadable by today's standards. Most sources are ancient manuscripts written in Latin, and very few pieces of literature are translated into English. However, in my essay, I tried to understand the most famous piece of alchemical literature, the Ripley Scrolls. Alchemical literature is quite unique from other forms of literature, as alchemists encoded their experiments in strange and detailed illustrations full of imagery. Often processes and specific elements used in their experiments would be represented by specific figures. For example, gold would be commonly represented by a sun, while mercury would be commonly represented by a queen. The most important alchemical texts are the Ripley Scrolls, a series of 23 scrolls depicting the creation of the Philosopher's Stone. The scroll credits George Ripley, an English alchemist, as its author, although there is little evidence that Ripley wrote the scrolls himself. Initially, I struggled in decrypting the scroll's vivid imagery, but with the help of college professor Aaron Kitch and his article, The Engendered Stones, I eventually unearthed the true meaning behind these ancient texts. The first scroll depicts a large figure holding a beaker. This figure is alchemy's patron god, Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus also appears in the middle, showing the process for the creation of the Philosopher's Stone to an alchemist, which may represent George Ripley. Surrounding Ripley and Trismegistus are 8 circles showcasing the specific steps in the first part of the creation of the Philosopher's Stone, which appears to be the creation of a white stone. The figures in the 8 circles surrounding the beaker appear to represent sulfur and mercury, as mercury is commonly represented as a woman, while sulfur was commonly represented by a man in alchemical imagery. A full analysis of the scroll would take far too long, but some more notable examples of symbolism include 2 red and green lions representing the combination of red and green sulfur, and a dragon representing the burning of an element. Although the Ripley Scrolls aren't written in a traditional way, I still believe that they and Aaron Keach's analysis have improved my ability to comprehend difficult literature, as both Aaron Keach's essay and the scroll themselves are difficult to understand, as the imagery found in the scrolls is incredibly complex without extensive background knowledge of alchemy. In the creation of my medieval section, I learned how to cut back unimportant details, as my original medieval section was extremely long and full of information that didn't relate to the topic sentence, and I believe that my final draft is more concise. Ripley scrolls are important to study in the modern day, as they're one of the best examples to showcase how alchemists created their literature using imagery with small pieces of text. The Ripley scrolls also show the element of alchemy that caused it to be rejected by scientists. In the Renaissance era, alchemy was on the decline. Its transition into chemistry as scientists began to question alchemical legitimacy as a science. One of the most important texts in the decline of alchemy was The Skeptical Chemist by Robert Boyle, a 16th century English scientist who is thought to be the first modern chemist. The Skeptical Chemist brought up multiple flaws with alchemy's belief system, such as the fact that there was no legitimate evidence of the transmutation of gold or the creation of the philosopher's stone within all of alchemy's history. Boyle also questioned the theory that all elements were made of the same three basic elements, sulfur, salt, and mercury, a theory that was quickly debunked during the Renaissance. I believe that it is important to reflect upon Renaissance-era alchemical literature such as The Skeptical Chemist, as it helps us understand how and why alchemy failed. I believe that I've used close reading skills such as comprehending difficult literature and connecting